Okay, so here it is, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was minding my own business, right, just trying to finish an outline for a book that Chris and I are writing. So I've got this total caffeine high, and I get a message on YouTube from a friend of mine, and he said that there's that Von Helton, who's batshit fucking crazy anyway, if I can give a shit about him, and this guy named Augustine of Hippo were talking shit about me, saying how they could own me, yada 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 yada. I was like, who the fuck is Augustine of Hippo? So I go in there because, you know, the curiosity has sparked me, and I start talking to my friend that's in there, saying, hey, you should get him to mention me again. So he starts talking about witchcraft again, and his information is totally bullshit, right? So he brings up this book by Alice Bailey, and the name kind of rang a bell to me. Theosophy's never been that much of a big part of my path because it's more of an Eastern tradition, and quite frankly, some of the Eastern New Age crap doesn't make sense to me. And so I've read through a little bit of her stuff, and I actually bothered to go and find an HTML copy of the book. I disagree with at least half of it. But that's fine. You know, I would not call it a foundation of modern witchcraft. Most definitely. And so my point stays. It's a foundation of maybe one type of style of occultism, but definitely not a foundation of modern witchcraft as a whole. And, you know, did Gardner possibly get some ideas from her? Possibly. But I definitely don't follow everything that Gardner does. In fact, I don't even consider myself to be Wiccan. You know, it talks about white magic and stuff like that, and, you know, modern witchcraft and stuff like that. One of the first things that I taught is that there is no such thing as white magic or black magic, that the intent comes with the caster, not with the energy. And so, the whole idea that these books are the foundation of modern witchcraft didn't make any sense, right? And so he's like, you don't even know what you're talking about. You don't even know what I'm talking about, right? And I'm like, actually, I do. I taught witchcraft in Chicago, and, you know, unlike what some people say, people actually did show up to my classes, you know, and so, it's just kind of like, he starts getting into this kind of like baby rant, right? And so I start, you know, refuting his statements, and then all of a sudden I get booted from the room, because, you know, if you can't refute, you boot. And it's one of those things. I found it really funny, because here he is saying how bad he can own me and shit like that, but yet they had to boot me from the room. I didn't swear. I never said a word. In fact, I didn't even get on camera. I was just texting, and they booted me. So I consider that to be a win. If you want to get your ass kicked again, I'd love to debate you, Augustine of Hippo. Eric, I think that's your name. And I think you used to call yourself Greek Orthodoxy here on YouTube, but I can't remember exactly. You also brought up the Shaka Now edited audio of me. And the reason that I was upset about that is because he talked about the things that I talked about, but he edited out the parts where I talked about how those are minority ideas within the pagan community, and you know, how they should be respected and stuff. He edited that footage. He took me out of context, and he did not ask my permission to use that footage. So, you know, therefore, since he took me out of context, it does not constitute fair use, and therefore I complained about it. And so did, by the way, the owners of the show, who also had rights to that footage, and he didn't ask them either. So, anyway, that's why, you know, the whole Shaka Now thing got brought up. Shaka Now is a piece of shit, and I could own him any day of the week. I've had messagey conversations with him where all he could do is talk about Bible verses to me, and, you know, the Bible is to me a bunch of horse shit, so, you know, that doesn't make a difference to me. It's not real evidence. Augustine of Hippo, or whatever the fuck you call yourself, Eric, whatever, if you want to debate me, that's fine, but I think I've already won, because, you know, like I said, if you can't refute, you boot. Blessed be. Okay, so, I talked to my friend who was in this room, and apparently they were telling everybody in the room that I ran away from the argument instead of getting booted. So I just wanted to click on the room so that you could see for 100% fact that I did get booted. See, if I click here OK to get into the room, it says you've been kicked for 1 hour. So that's my proof that I did actually get kicked, and that he's the one that ran away from the argument, because if you can't refute, you boot. And it also makes him a liar, too, which makes him a horrible Christian.